In the midst of the Israel-Iran conflict, a battle is being fought that goes far beyond weapons, missiles, or military tactics. It's a war of the unseen, an ancient war that has been waged for centuries, not in the fields, but in the hearts and minds of those involved. What if I told you that Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and spiritual warfare have played a pivotal role in this ongoing struggle? What if the real power behind the conflict isn't just the armies clashing, but the invisible forces at work, shaping the outcome of every battle? In this very moment, as we watch the world around us, we're witnessing a battle not just for land, but for something deeper, something far more potent, the spiritual forces that govern our lives. Israel has long been associated with Kabbalistic teachings, ancient mystical practices that claim to wield power over the forces of nature. On the other hand, Iran, rooted in millennia of mysticism, has its own powerful spiritual practices, including the manipulation of psychic energy. These forces are not mere fantasies or relics of the past. They are as real as any weapon in the arsenal of war. Could these ancient practices, these spiritual weapons, be the hidden force that shapes the fate of nations? Why have these mystical practices persisted in such modern conflicts? How is it that spiritual warfare, once relegated to myths and superstitions, has become an active and powerful tool in the arsenal of nations? Could it be that we are missing something essential? Something that holds the key to understanding the true nature of power in our world today? In this video, we will peel back the layers of spiritual warfare, diving deep into the influence of Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and psychic manipulation in the Israel-Iran conflict. You will learn how these ancient practices have shaped modern warfare, guiding the decisions of leaders, soldiers, and even entire nations. We will explore the hidden truth of how spiritual forces are not just influencing the battlefield, but also the hearts and minds of those caught in the middle. You will understand why the use of spiritual rituals and psychic influence is not just a form of mysticism, but a tool for power and control. By the end of this video, you will see the true power of spiritual warfare, and why understanding these forces is crucial to understanding the Israel-Iran conflict. Are we truly aware of the spiritual forces at work in our world today? How can these ancient practices still shape the course of modern warfare? Let's explore the answers to these questions together as we uncover the unseen power behind one of the world's most intense and mysterious conflicts. In the hidden depths of the Israel-Iran conflict, there lies a profound and often overlooked reality. The war being fought is not merely one of military might, but one of unseen forces, spiritual warfare. The world is caught up in the headlines of missiles, technology, and physical confrontations, but beneath it all, an ancient battle is being waged, one of Kabbalah magic, psychic warfare, and dark arts. These mystical practices, far from being ancient relics of history, have found their place in the modern world, and they are shaping the course of this conflict in ways that few can truly comprehend. Imagine, if you will, a battlefield where soldiers do not only face weapons of destruction, but also the invisible forces of energy, fear, and doubt. This is the battlefield that Israel and Iran are engaged in today. While Israel has long been associated with Kabbalah, an ancient Jewish mystical tradition that taps into the very fabric of the universe to influence reality, Iran has its own deep-rooted spiritual practices, drawing from Zoroastrianism and Islamic mysticism, practices that harness the power of dark arts and psychic energy. These practices aren't just relics of history, they are tools, powerful and active in the ongoing battle for supremacy. Kabbalah, often misunderstood as merely a mystical philosophy, is actually a system of power that, when used correctly, is said to have the ability to influence the fabric of reality itself. For Israel, Kabbalistic magic goes beyond spiritual rituals. It is an integral part of their strategy, both in defense and in offense. Through spiritual shields, invocations, and rituals, those who practice Kabbalah believe they can align the forces of nature in their favor, creating an invisible force field of protection, clarity, and guidance amidst the chaos of war. Kabbalistic rituals are not just about belief. They are seen as tools of influence, capable of altering the course of events in ways that transcend the physical. This is the true power of spiritual warfare, to shape reality through intention, energy, and will. On the other side, Iran's spiritual approach to warfare is equally potent. Deeply rooted in Zoroastrianism, an ancient Persian religion that dates back over 2,000 years, Iranian spiritual practices employ a range of psychic warfare techniques. These are not just about casting spells, but about manipulating the mind and spirit of their opponents. Imagine an Israeli general full of confidence walking into a meeting only to suddenly feel a profound sense of fear and self-doubt, the kind that would normally take months to overcome. This isn't a sudden psychological breakdown. This is the work of Iran's dark arts, where emotions and mental states are altered through psychic manipulation. These forces don't need to fire a single bullet to win the battle. They simply alter the psychological landscape of their enemies, leaving them vulnerable to attack. The Iranian military is believed to have a division dedicated to psychic operations, using techniques to disturb the minds and emotions of their enemies. One powerful form of this is dream manipulation, a tool that is as subtle as it is effective. Imagine an Israeli commander having vivid, unsettling dreams the night before a major military operation. These dreams don't just reflect the subconscious. They are carefully crafted messages that induce confusion and doubt. This is not some fleeting experience. It is a deep psychic influence that targets the core of the person's mental state, leaving them disoriented and less capable of performing under pressure. The psychological effect of this form of spiritual warfare cannot be overstated. When Iran targets the mind, they are not simply waging a war of thoughts. They are creating an energy that disrupts the very foundation of their enemy's confidence. Consider the profound implications of these spiritual influences. Israel, using Kabbalah magic, taps into the higher energies of the universe, aligning their intentions with the forces of light and protection. This gives them not just a physical advantage, but a spiritual one that shields them from the psychological tactics employed by Iran. But what happens when both sides are equally armed with these spiritual weapons? The battlefield shifts from being one of mere physical confrontation to one of spiritual clarity, psychic influence, and energy manipulation. It's not about who has the bigger army. It's about who can master the unseen forces that shape the outcome of the fight. At this point, it's essential to pause and ask, if spiritual warfare is so effective, why do we continue to ignore its role in our understanding of modern conflict? Why is it that we focus so much on military technology and political power, while the most profound forces shaping our reality are invisible? In this age of information, we are too often blind to the spiritual realm, a realm that governs our thoughts, emotions, and the very energy we carry with us. If Israel and Iran can harness the power of the unseen, can we not also begin to understand and harness these forces in our own lives? This brings us to the core of the lesson we can take from these practices. Spiritual warfare is not a distant concept from the past. It is a living, breathing force that shapes the present, influencing everything from global conflicts to the decisions we make in our personal lives. The battle between Israel and Iran is not just about geopolitical power. It is about mastery over spiritual energy and the ability to shape reality. This battle is a reminder that the true nature of conflict is not solely physical. It is about the mind, the soul, and the energy we project into the world. As we continue to understand the hidden dynamics of Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and psychic warfare, we begin to see the world in a new light. We realize that the spiritual realm is not some distant, abstract place, but a force that exists all around us. Just as Israel and Iran use these forces to influence their fates, so too can we use our own understanding of these energies to shape our lives. By becoming more attuned to the spiritual energies around us, we begin to realize that we too have the power to influence the world through our thoughts, intentions, and actions. The question then becomes, how do we harness this power? It begins with awareness. Awareness of the spiritual forces at play in our own lives and in the world around us. When we acknowledge these forces, we open ourselves to the possibility of spiritual mastery. We can choose to align ourselves with the forces of light, of peace, and of love, just as Israel does through its Kabbalistic practices. By learning to tap into the spiritual energy that surrounds us, we gain the power to influence not only our own lives, but the world at large. In the end, the story of the Israel-Iran conflict is not just a story of two nations fighting for control. It is a story of spiritual warfare, of the unseen forces that shape the course of human history. By understanding the role of spiritual influence, psychic warfare, and spiritual shields, we can begin to see the world through a new lens, one that is rooted in the profound understanding that the greatest battles are often fought not on the physical battlefield, but within the mind, the heart, and the spirit. This is the lesson we must take with us, that spiritual warfare is not just a tool of war, but a tool of life. By mastering the forces that influence our world, we can shape our own destiny, and in doing so, help to create a world of peace, healing, and spiritual understanding. As we continue our exploration into the depths of the Israel-Iran conflict, we begin to see that this war is not just about missiles, military tactics, or the control of resources. It is a war being fought on a deeper, more profound level, a spiritual battlefield where the forces of Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and psychic warfare shape the decisions, actions, and outcomes of both nations. These ancient practices are not relics of the past. They are active, powerful tools that influence the very course of events. Understanding these forces helps us grasp how ancient wisdom can still play a pivotal role in modern conflict. It is not just about weapons or technology, it's about spiritual energy, the unseen power that guides and controls the lives of all those involved. Israel, with its deep roots in Kabbalah, understands that the power of spiritual energy is not just something that can be studied, it is something that can be wielded. The ancient mysticism of Kabbalah teaches that by channeling spiritual forces, one can influence both the physical and metaphysical realms. This knowledge is more than just theoretical. It is part of the very fabric of Israeli military strategy. Through Kabbalistic rituals, Israel is said to invoke protection and clarity on the battlefield, creating a powerful spiritual shield around their soldiers. This practice helps to instill a sense of strength, focus, and clarity, even in the most chaotic and uncertain times. Imagine a soldier facing imminent danger with chaos all around him. The traditional military weapons, guns, tanks, and drones are important, but they are not the only forces at play. The true power of spiritual warfare lies in the unseen forces that shape the heart and mind of that soldier. Kabbalah, through its deep understanding of spiritual energy, provides Israeli forces with a means of channeling that energy, ensuring that their soldiers are not just physically prepared, but spiritually invincible. This spiritual shield creates an unspoken strength, one that transcends mere physical might. It's about an inner power that keeps the soldiers grounded, focused, and resolute, no matter the external chaos. On the other side, Iran is tapping into its own spiritual traditions. While Israel draws from the Kabbalistic tradition, Iran utilizes the rich history of Zoroastrianism, an ancient Persian faith that holds its own secrets of spiritual influence. In Iran, the use of dark arts and psychic warfare is believed to be deeply intertwined with their military strategies. Unlike Kabbalah, which is often associated with light and protection, Iran's dark arts are rooted in disruption, manipulation, and destabilization. Imagine, if you will, a general in Israel prepared for a critical operation. Everything seems to be in order, yet, in the moments before battle, they are struck by an overwhelming sense of fear. The fear isn't necessarily theirs to own. It's a psychological tactic designed to unsettle them, to cause confusion and hesitation. Iranian spiritual techniques, such as dream manipulation and psychic influence, target the minds of their enemies, creating an energy field that disrupts clarity and instills doubt. Through spiritual influence, Iran seeks to destabilize their enemies before a single shot is fired, manipulating their emotions and thoughts in subtle, unseen ways. The psychic warfare used by Iran is not merely about causing fear or doubt. It's about destabilizing the very essence of their enemy's willpower. In a battlefield where every decision could mean life or death, the ability to influence the mind and spirit is just as important as any weapon. The power of spiritual warfare is deeply rooted in the ability to control emotions, thoughts, and ultimately the will of those fighting. Iran's spiritual tactics are designed to manipulate the very core of their opponent's psyche, causing them to falter at the most critical moments. This is spiritual manipulation at its finest, an unseen force that can bring even the most prepared general to his knees. Now, what can we learn from this? The truth is that spiritual warfare is not an isolated phenomenon within the realm of military conflict. It is an essential part of life itself. The Kabbalah magic of Israel and the dark arts of Iran show us that the power of spiritual energy is something we all tap into, knowingly or unknowingly, in our daily lives. These forces shape our thoughts, actions, and emotions. Just as Israel uses spiritual shields to protect their soldiers, we too can create spiritual protection in our own lives. Just as Iran uses psychic manipulation to disrupt their enemies, we too must be aware of the energies that influence our decisions, thoughts, and relationships. The real power lies in our ability to harness spiritual energy for good, to use these ancient teachings not for manipulation, but for healing, clarity, and protection. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all connected to the spiritual forces that govern this world. The more we understand these forces, the more empowered we become to navigate our lives with greater intention and purpose. As we consider the role of spiritual warfare in the Israel-Iran conflict, we must also reflect on its impact in our own lives. These ancient forces are not just a part of military strategy, they are part of the very fabric of our being. Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and psychic warfare are not isolated concepts. They are tools that can be used for spiritual growth, healing, and protection. It is through understanding these tools that we can begin to harness their power, not for destruction, but for peace and spiritual enlightenment. We are all participants in this great spiritual battle, whether we are fighting on a battlefield or facing the everyday challenges of life. The key is understanding the spiritual forces at play and learning to navigate them with wisdom, strength, and clarity. Just as Israel and Iran use their ancient knowledge to influence their conflicts, we too can use the knowledge of spiritual energy to influence our own realities. By aligning ourselves with the higher energies of peace, love, and light, we can begin to transform not only our own lives, but the world around us. As we conclude this exploration into the spiritual warfare that underpins the Israel-Iran conflict, let us remember that the true power in this world lies not in the weapons we wield, but in the energy we carry. Kabbalah magic, dark arts, and psychic warfare are not just abstract concepts. They are tools, powerful tools, that we can choose to wield for good or ill. The choice is ours. Will we use these forces to disrupt, to manipulate, or will we choose to use them for healing, growth, and spiritual transformation? The true strength lies in our ability to master the spiritual realm, to use these forces not for control, but for clarity, peace, and love. When we understand that we are all connected to these unseen forces, we realize the power we have to shape not only our own lives, but the future of the world. Spiritual warfare is not a battle fought with weapons. It is a battle fought with the mind, the soul, and the heart. And with this understanding, we can begin to navigate the world with greater strength, clarity, and purpose. As we continue our journey through the unseen and deeply spiritual forces at play in the Israel-Iran conflict, it becomes evident that the outcome of such a conflict is not only shaped by the physical weapons and strategies of war, but also by the unseen, powerful forces of Kabbalah magic and dark arts. These ancient mystical practices, often dismissed by those who focus solely on tangible outcomes, are the real, yet invisible weapons that wield the true power to shift the course of this battle. Consider the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, a military force renowned for its technological advancements and strategic brilliance. But what if their success is not only due to their cutting-edge technology and advanced weaponry? What if the true strength behind Israel's military dominance lies in the unseen forces of Kabbalah? Through the ancient practices of spiritual shielding and energy manipulation, Kabbalah magic creates a protective aura that surrounds the soldiers, making them not only mentally and physically strong, but spiritually invincible. Imagine an Israeli soldier on the front lines, facing unimaginable danger, yet feeling an unexplainable sense of calm and clarity. It is not merely the physical training that keeps them focused. It is the spiritual protection that they have invoked through Kabbalistic rituals. This invisible force becomes their shield, their guide, helping them stay grounded even in the most chaotic of moments. In a world where we often prioritize technology over spirituality, it's important to realize that the spiritual realm and the physical world are not separate. They are deeply interconnected. Kabbalah, with its ancient knowledge, provides the tools to influence the physical through the spiritual, the unseen through the seen. When Israel practices Kabbalistic rituals, they align their actions with the higher divine forces of the universe, creating an energy that both protects and empowers them. This is not merely a mystical practice, it is a strategy of war, one that taps into the very fabric of reality, changing the course of events by harnessing spiritual energy. On the other side, Iran taps into a deep spiritual tradition of its own, rooted in Zoroastrianism and Islamic mysticism. While Israel relies on Kabbalah magic, Iran uses a different form of spiritual warfare, one that involves the manipulation of psychic energy and emotional influence. In this battle of the unseen, Iran's use of dark arts is subtle but powerful. They harness the energy of the mind, creating psychic disturbances that affect the thoughts and emotions of their enemies. Through dream manipulation, Iranian forces are said to disrupt the mental clarity of their adversaries, leaving them vulnerable to attack. This isn't just about spells or incantations, it's about influencing the very psyche of the enemy. Imagine a general in Israel who, just before a major battle, begins to experience inexplicable feelings of fear and uncertainty. These are not random thoughts, these are psychic manipulations at play, subtle but powerful, eroding the mental fortitude of the enemy before they even step foot on the battlefield. Iran's dark arts work by destabilizing the mind and emotions, leaving their enemies open to confusion and hesitation, weakening their resolve before the real battle begins. It's important to understand that spiritual warfare is not just a set of ancient practices used by Israel and Iran. It is a dynamic force that affects us all. We are all participants in this battle of energy. Every thought we think, every emotion we feel, every intention we set out into the world is part of the greater spiritual battle. The forces of spiritual energy are not confined to the battlefields of Israel and Iran. They affect everything from our personal relationships to the decisions we make in our own lives. Whether we realize it or not, we are all subject to these unseen forces, and they are constantly shaping our experiences. Just as Israel uses Kabbalah magic to empower their soldiers and shield them from psychic attacks, we too can learn to harness the spiritual forces in our own lives. Spiritual shielding is not limited to those on the battlefield. It is something we can all tap into. When we align ourselves with higher energies of peace, love, and protection, we begin to build our own spiritual shields. This is not about casting spells or invoking ancient rituals. It is about intention, setting the intention to protect ourselves from negative energies and focusing on the higher vibrations that guide us towards healing and growth. Spiritual warfare, in its most profound sense, is about more than just the manipulation of energy. It is about our ability to transform the energy around us, to shift from fear and negativity to clarity and strength. In the case of Israel and Iran, the outcome of this conflict may not only depend on missiles or military tactics, but on the spiritual energy that each side is able to summon and direct. As Israel and Iran engage in this spiritual war, we are reminded that the true battle is not only fought on the battlefield, but in the hearts and minds of those involved. The key takeaway here is that spiritual warfare is an essential force in our lives, and it's something we can all actively engage with. By becoming aware of the spiritual energies at play, we can make better choices, influence the energy around us, and align ourselves with the higher forces of peace, love, and clarity. Just as Israel has tapped into the ancient practices of Kabbalah and Iran has harnessed the power of dark arts, we too can draw from the spiritual energy that exists within and around us. In the same way, the psychic warfare and dream manipulation used by Iran shows us the importance of being mindful of the energies we encounter in our lives. Just as spiritual influence can destabilize and confuse, it can also heal and empower. This is the balance we must strive for, becoming masters of the spiritual realm, using spiritual energy not to manipulate, but to heal, protect, and grow. In doing so, we can transcend the limitations of the physical world and unlock the true potential of the spiritual forces at our disposal. As we move forward, we must remember that the battle between Israel and Iran, like all battles, is not just one of arms, but of spiritual clarity. Whether we are on the battlefield or in our daily lives, we are all engaged in a fight for peace, for balance, and for spiritual truth. Understanding the dynamics of spiritual warfare allows us to see the world with new eyes, giving us the power to navigate not just the external world, but the internal one as well. And in this, we find true strength, not in the weapons we wield, but in the spiritual energy we channel. As we bring this journey to a close, the story we've uncovered goes far beyond just the Israel-Iran conflict. It's a tale of spiritual warfare, where Kabbalah magic, psychic manipulation, and dark arts shape the course of human history in ways we can hardly imagine. It's a reminder that the battles we face are not only the ones we can see with our eyes, but also those that take place within, in the deepest parts of our spirits and minds. Spiritual energy, though often invisible, is the most potent force we can harness, and it is the foundation of the most powerful strategies in conflict, whether on a national scale or in our personal lives. The teachings of Kabbalah remind us of a powerful truth. We are all connected to the unseen forces that shape our world. Israel has harnessed this ancient power, channeling it into their military strategies, using Kabbalah as a spiritual shield that protects their soldiers and guides their decisions. And on the other side, Iran taps into dark arts and psychic warfare, using spiritual influence to destabilize their enemies and manipulate their thoughts and emotions. These spiritual tactics remind us that we are all part of a greater spiritual battle, one that transcends the physical and reaches deep into the very core of our being. As we witness the unfolding of spiritual warfare on the global stage, we must not forget that these forces also exist within us. Just as Israel and Iran use ancient spiritual practices to influence the outcome of war, we too can learn to harness the spiritual energies that govern our lives. By becoming aware of these forces, we can navigate our own lives with clarity, strength, and purpose. We can choose to align ourselves with the higher energies of peace, love, and protection, creating spiritual shields that protect us from the negative forces that seek to destabilize us. In a world that is often overwhelmed by chaos and uncertainty, the practice of spiritual warfare offers a path to healing, empowerment, and transformation. It teaches us that the spiritual realm is not some distant, abstract place. It is as real and powerful as any physical force, and it is through our connection to these forces that we can shape our own destiny. Whether we are fighting our own internal battles, dealing with personal challenges, or facing larger societal conflicts, understanding and harnessing the power of spiritual energy allows us to rise above adversity and find peace amidst the storm. If you have felt the power of this message, if this video has touched your heart and illuminated your path, I humbly invite you to support this channel. Your support, whether through a like, a comment, or a subscription, is a reflection of the energy you bring into the world, and it helps to create more space for the light, love, and healing we all seek. Your energy, no matter how small it may seem, is invaluable and helps to keep this work alive. Each interaction, whether it's a word of encouragement, a share, or a thought in the comments, is a ripple in the ocean of healing we are collectively creating. If you feel that this video has brought you closer to understanding the spiritual forces at work in the world, or if it has helped you find light in dark times, I invite you to be part of this journey. Every contribution, whether in the form of a like, a comment, or a subscription, carries its own energy that propels us forward. It helps me continue to create more content that can touch hearts, guide souls, and illuminate minds. Your support, though intangible, is priceless to me. I am deeply grateful for your presence here, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this community. Let us not forget that the true power of spiritual warfare is not just about wielding energy for control, but about healing, clarity, and peace. By understanding how these forces work, we can transform not only our own lives, but also the world around us. Let us each strive to be a beacon of light, a force of peace, and a protector of those who need it most. Through our collective energy, we can begin to heal the world and step into a new era where spiritual wisdom guides us toward a brighter, more peaceful future. So, as we part ways today, I leave you with this. The power to shape our world lies within each of us. We are not powerless. We are powerful beyond measure, and the greatest force we possess is the spiritual energy we carry. May we continue to walk in light, rise above the shadows, and create a world where peace and healing reign. Thank you for your unwavering support and for being part of this journey. Let's continue to explore the truth, spread the light, and heal the world together, one step at a time.